Oh, a little malfunction here, but we're back. Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 377 of the All Dolphins podcast on this Monday, October 7th, in the aftermath, the afterglow, the glory of a Dolphins win. It's a Dolphins win, Dave Hyde. Come on, it's a Dolphins win. We got to celebrate it.
Ugly win better than an ugly loss. I agree with that.
Okay, good. We'll be talking about that, chatting a little bit about Mike McDaniel's quarterback comments for Monday. It is day after the game weekly media session, where he mentioned he's sticking with Tyler Huntley at quarterback, basically for now, guessing until Tua is ready to go. And the second part of this is he said that there has been no negative feedback from any of the medical professionals he's talked to regarding Tua needing more time than normal to be able to return to action. Sticking to no timelines, as has been his stance from the start. He says Tua is going to visit a couple of specialists this week during the bye week, and he's still in concussion protocol because technically he can't clear concussion protocol because one of the final steps is a practice with no symptoms after the fact. So obviously that won't happen until Tua returns to practice. So what's your first take in all of this in terms of Tua maybe sooner rather than later on the return?
Well, I mean, what sooner? What he's going to play Arizona, right? I mean, that's the
Yep.
That's the bottom line. I mean, of all this, all the timetables and timelines, and is he going to be back? Not. He's going to play in Arizona. I mean, that's sort of been the thinking for the last few weeks around the team, and nothing, in or out of the protocol, et cetera. Nothing's going to change that. So no surprise, Tyler Huntley started. He looked a lot more comfortable, I thought, in the offense yesterday than a week his first start. And it makes you wonder, what if they got out and signed Tyler Huntley right away rather than Tim Boyle? And so they whiffed once on the backup quarterback. They whiffed twice on Tim Boyle. And you talk about a GM and a coach who have just really, put the season in trouble because of their decisions on quarterback. This is Exhibit A in the NFL.
Yeah, and if you remember what happened with Tyler Huntley in the offseason after being Lamar Jackson's backup, he signed with the Cleveland Browns as a free agent to join a team that had Deshaun Watson, who clearly was going to be the starter because of his contract, not because he's not completely sucking right now. Also had Jameis Winston, Dorian Thomas-Robinson. So now we're looking for guys. You don't think if the Dolphins had reached out to Tyler Huntley in the offseason, come compete for be the number two behind Tua, that chances are he would have taken that offer. And the fact that they're going with him now after one start for Skyler, which basically tells you McDaniel has seen enough. And it's not like Tyler Huntley has been lighting the world on fire, but it's just that the offense looks semi-functional, which it didn't with Skyler Thompson. And again, another indictment on where the Dolphins did at quarterback in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Joe Flacco step. There's a lot of ways they could have gone in the offseason, and they chose what has proved to be the worst one that they could have done. Whether it was out of the fact they didn't want any competition for Tua or anybody even who could be perceived as taken. I can't believe that, because nobody was gonna. They brought in would challenge for the job, but you get a veteran like Flacco, or you go after Tyler Huntley back when, you have a chance to save your season, and you have a chance to keep the season treading water rather than you're taking on water right now. And you could just see that in Huntley's play. I thought yesterday, and I talked to him after the game, and he talked 100%. He was more comfortable today than a week, and no surprise, he came in 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks of practice. He was there for 2 weeks, and he's starting a game, and now he had another week under his belt. Now he'll get an off week, and I'm sure he'll be even more comfortable. What that means for the fate of the Dolphins, the way they played beyond the quarterback position, high level concern right now.
True. But here's the thing, though. There are a lot of teams that I think we thought were going to be contenders in the AFC who have turned out not that way so far. Cincinnati jumps out. I thought Cleveland was going to be good this year because I was stupid enough to think this is the year now. He's another year removed that Deshaun Watson was going to get his act together and go back to being Houston Texans Deshaun Watson. To totally the opposite. He's just gotten worse and worse and worse. I mean, right now, he's just a really bad quarterback. And the only reason he's in the lineup is because the Browns are paying him a crap load of money, and they don't kind of like either don't have a choice or have decided that we're not spending all that money for him to sit on the bench.
Well, that's the worst situation of all. The owner, I'm sure, is telling the coach, "You're playing him," and the players are looking, saying, "This guy's a disaster."
Mm-hmm.
The coach is losing the team, and their only hope would be to play Jameis Winston. But I'm sure that's a situation where just a awful franchise signing him was a disaster. The way the contract went, and then it's just played out that way. And you know what? Just desserts for Cleveland, I guess.
Yep. And let's not forget that it wasn't that far-fetched a possibility that the Dolphins were going to wind up with him at some point. And they
wanted him. They wanted him. They had his lawyer on the phone. They were ready.
Yep. So the Dolphin, escaped one here, narrow escape right there. But back to the Dolphins and my point about about Tyler Huntley and what they did in the offseason. I'm going to say that Dolphins cost themselves right now out of 5 games at least one win because they lost that Tennessee game because their offense was so insanely dysfunctional. And while it was everybody on offense, their quarterback having been there such little time, had the Dolphins gotten out and gotten a respectable, solid backup, they wouldn't have been in this pickle. I don't know. I'm not going to say that they would have won at Seattle because Seattle's a tough place to play.
They would have competed better. You would
correct.
They couldn't compete any less. I mean, they would have competed better. Yeah, they would have had a chance.
Correct. They would have had a fighting chance. And then against Tennessee, you have Huntley's thrown in there after like a week and a half on the team, and you got what you got. Now moving forward, again, there were encouraging signs. I'm sure, like you're going to agree with me, that the running game was an encouraging sign. But everything has to be measured. It has to be portrayed in light of the fact that we're playing one of the worst teams in the NFL.
Yeah, and I give them credit. They hung in there enough in a game that was it was awful to watch. I mean, both sides, both ways. Penalties that you don't see in high school, and plays you don't. Rolling the snap back on the field goal and Cleveland center moving the ball. And I mean, there were things that you should never see at an NFL level. And so both sides were bad. Give the Dolphins credit for hanging in there and finding a way to win a game they could just as easily as lost. But let's not pretend that this is some what it does, it gets them to on a bye week where maybe they can regroup and solve some things that are plaguing them, and the season's still afloat. Okay, you go if they lost that game, went 1-4, see ya. They're not going to recover from that. So they got themselves a chance to get the season. Now, was that win significant? It's only significant if they can find some answers for what's plaguing them.
Correct. It'll be significant if we go look back when we're in December, early January, and thinking they make the playoffs by one game. You see that game against New England that they came so close to losing? Because I can point out a couple of plays. If Jacoby Brissett doesn't make Jalen Polk jump in the end zone at the end of the game in that final minute, that we don't have to worry about this rule where you have to get your toes in first, but then your heel has to come down in bounds as well. Which is weird to me because if you're catching it down the sideline, your heels have to be in.
I got to admit, I didn't know that rule. I didn't know that rule until they explained it.
Yeah, it's weird. And by the letter of the rule, it was the correct call, but it's weird. So if it's not for that, let's remember, because everybody's going nuts over that drive that ended with seven straight runs. If the Cleveland linebacker Christian Ellis, who's who's one of 4 Ellis brothers whose father played in the NFL, doesn't have a brain fart and tackle Raheem Mostert.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about? It's 3rd and 13, and he's throwing a 5-yard pass.
Yeah.
If they just let him complete it, it's 4th down the Dolphins punt. Instead, he cut the PPI.
There were so many plays. What about the Cleveland coaches? What is
New England?
New England coaches What are they doing? They're averaging 7.9 yards a carry. A carry. That's unheard. I don't think I've ever seen a game like that in the NFL. 7.9 yards, and they only run the ball 19 times, and they put it in Jacoby Brissett's hands, a career backup who can't make a play. He has no receivers to throw to. 34 passes. I mean, are they even watching the game? And so, that's sort of what I was saying. Wow, the Dolphins are lucky they didn't go up against a good coaching staff, or at least anybody who's paying attention to the game. Because I'm sitting up there in the press box thinking, why are they having Jacoby Brissett throw him so many times? And to the Dolphins' credit, Mike McDaniel went bent a way he doesn't like to go, which is pound the ball. And on that last drive, while the big play was got him out of trouble, a holding penalty on I think it was Eichenberg, it could have been Julian Hill. Both of them had holding penalties, but the 21-yard pass to Tyreek Hill got them back to level ground in that drive, and then they started pounding the ball. And I was looking across the league. Baltimore had 14 first downs out of 30 they had in the game in the fourth quarter. Dallas came back, in the fourth quarter. There's a lot of it now. Our defense is wearing down right now, especially in mediocre teams like New England. Not even mediocre, where you have no depth, and the Dolphins took advantage of that, and good for them.
No, absolutely. And it's interesting, though, because in talking to Ben Volen from the Boston Globe on the Behind Enemy Lines episode last week, he was talking about the Patriots were really, really bad, but one thing that they were doing well is they were pretty well disciplined in terms of not, beating themselves and penalties and all that. And then yesterday was like a flag fest. We should also mention, apparently, Gerard Mayo, the head coach, in his remarks, I think, on his radio station and his radio show in the morning, kind of left open the possibility that they're going to switch to Drake May for their next game, which is against the Houston Texans. Have fun with that one, Drake.
Well, I've never heard of a losing team, a team that doesn't have playoff aspirations, saying we're not going to play our rookie quarterback because we don't want to get him killed. That tells you how bad a team they are when that's the reason. It isn't, well, he's not ready yet, or, we want him to sit for a year. We don't want him to get killed. But Jacoby Brissett go out and get killed. We're all for it. But that's New England's problems. And I said when they lost Tom Brady, we'll see you in a decade. You're not going to recover. And as arrogant as they were, and they thought, oh, yeah, we'll be fine. It doesn't work that way.
Not quite right. But hey, to Jacoby Brissett, they said, listen, we'll give you $6-7 million. You're going to get the crap beat out of you. And he's a thicker quarterback. So he's like, yeah, okay, sounds like a good deal. So anything else stand out to you? Trying to think of the.
Well, to me, the big issue, and Mike McDaniel's really got to get a handle on this. I gone and raked Chris Greer over the coals for the quarterback situation, and this roster is just. I don't even know where to start with. You got the oldest roster, and a lot of the decisions they've made are just not working out. But to me, special teams. Mike McDaniel's got to get a handle on this accountability. I remember Tony Sparano fired his special teams coach in the middle of the season. And I'm not at all. That's their decision. That's McDaniel's decision. I'm just putting it on McDaniel. He's got to get a handle on what's going on there, because you cannot have some of those plays happen and constant penalties. And I've never seen a first half like that. Block punt, botched field goal, 41-yard field goal hits the post. I mean, you lose games because of that.
Yeah, and there was one game, I want to say it was 2010 maybe, that the Dolphins played a night game against New England, and they were kind of even on offense or defense, and they wound up losing something like 41-14, and it was nothing but special teams. There was like a blocked field goal return for a touchdown, a blocked punt. I mean, it was a nightmare on special teams, and we got a little action going on over here.
Yeah.
You could mention that. Go ahead, Dave. Tell the good folks where you are right now.
Yeah, I'm actually where I want to see what the champions look like. So I came to the Florida Panthers practice, and it was an empty skating rink when I got here. Now it's an open skate, and they're music going on. So they're having a private ring ceremony today. The public one was canceled because of the weather. But I go from a team that can't make a proper decision on personnel or contracts to the Panthers, which the past 3 years, every decision they've made has just clicked. And Bill Zito has it starts with one guy in every franchise. And with the Panthers, Bill Zito, when he came in the door, they turned around a brutal franchise. And the Dolphins haven't found that one guy.
Yeah, I'm sure that this is not going to play well with our Dolphin fans. But hey, those are the facts. I mean, the
I do.
Panthers were a franchise that hadn't done anything in a long, long time, and they had a couple of franchise-altering moves, and they were on a run where, like, every move they made turned out to be gold. Then we got the results. Dolphins not there yet. We're going to wrap it up pretty soon since we're going to have a little party going on, and Dave's going to go enjoy that private ring ceremony. Dolphins are on a bye this week. I don't know that it comes at a good time. There's no, for me, it's like you get your bye when you get your bye. Should mention that Devon Achane indeed is in the concussion protocol. Javon Holland is quote unquote week to week. And then Mike McDaniel joked that he's obviously not playing this week. Well, no, he's not playing this week because the Dolphins are not playing this week. But he mentioned week to week. Mentioned the possibility amid the reports that he's got a broken bone in his hand, that he could play with the club because he's more than just a guy who's going to make plays with the club. We are going to wrap it up. Dave Hyde, thanks for joining me. Everyone, please like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff.
I'm bringing a little festive music into the Dolphin season, right? They need some during this off week. Loosen the hips up a little, go out and have a good time.
There you go. And then actually maybe the people at the rink over here are celebrating the Dolphins win. That's why there's a party atmosphere. Or maybe it's totally unrelated. I'm not sure. It's one of those two. We'll be back tomorrow. The Dolphins do have a practice tomorrow. I'm going to imagine it's going to be very, very light, some player availability, and we'll tell you everything that went down tomorrow when your colleague Perk is going to be joining me again. So in the meantime, again, thanks everyone. Dave, appreciate it. And we will catch you guys later.
Catch the beat.